Good morning everybody, welcome back to another film. It's another early one. So this morning I've come back to the same woodland that you saw me in on my last video, and I've come to enjoy the first flushes of the bluebells that you can just see behind me, and also these beautiful fresh green leaves of the beech trees that have just opened up, wafer thin, like little droplets of silk hanging from the branches. So I've no plan, as always, when I come to these locations, but there should be plenty to go at today. So for my first shot, I haven't actually lined it up yet, but I've found an area that I think I'm quite keen on. The thing is with this woodland is it's not very typical of many bluebell woods, where you've got big stands of tall beech trees and you've got lots of space between them. This wood's quite cluttered, and it's difficult to find composition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and use some of the young ferns that are coming up as my main focal point, and I've tried as best as I can to try and find a clear view through to the distant bluebells on the slope beyond. Like I say, I haven't framed anything up yet, so I need to find the composition, but I just wanted to make the point that when I've come to this location, I'm very careful not to damage the bluebells. Just here, you can see there's a little path. To be fair, there is bluebells here, but people have walked it, so I'm not damaging any more bluebells than necessary, other than what's already been walked through. I don't know whether this is a mammal path or whether people have used it, but also equally important, my bag is down in an area that's clear. So that's one of the first points I want to make, is that these bluebells are absolutely beautiful, but don't ruin them at the expense of a photograph. Composition always comes secondary to preserving these beautiful plants. Right, let's find something. So when I lined up that last shot, I had an idea that I was going to use the ferns as foreground. When I got down close to the ferns, there was a problem in that the bluebells, of course, when they're coming to flower, the leaves tend to go flattened and look very unappealing. Now when I was close to the ferns, all that vegetation at the front was very unappealing, very distracting. So I decided that wasn't what I wanted to go for in the end. So I've moved probably only about 20 yards this way, and I found a little spot that's really interesting. And as you can clearly see on the film, there's a transition zone between the bluebells and the wild garlic behind. Now the wild garlic clearly isn't fully out yet, and you've only got occasional patches of white, and I do wonder what that'll look like when it's fully out. It might be overkill, I don't know, but I love it the way it looks at the moment. So what I've done with the camera is I've set it up where you've got 3 zones of colour, or 3 zones of interest. So you've got the bluebells in the foreground on a lovely strong diagonal, and then the contrast with the ramsons, which are also take up another third of the image. And again, that strong diagonal is key to the success of this shot. Now this woodland typically here isn't what you get in other parts of the country, where you get those big strong straight beech trees. This is, as I've said before, very much more cluttered woodland, and getting the background right has been quite difficult, but I've found a composition that I feel works, and it's all held together by the big sycamore on the left hand side and that lovely sweeping branch that comes down over the top of the ramsons there. I've focus stacked the image. I've done 3 focus stacks. I've got one for the bluebells, one for the ramsons, and then one for the background trees to ensure sharpness right throughout at f16. And crucially, I'm going to crop this probably to a 16:9. That white sky just off to the left hand side there is definitely something I don't want in the image. I'm really happy with this shot. I think it's going to look really nice and will certainly make a beautiful print that will just look very typical of a British bluebell wood. So I'm going to put that on now. So this film really hasn't got much in the way of continuity and storytelling about it. It really hasn't. I'm literally having to tippy-toe in amongst the bluebells, and trust me, that's not something I want on camera for the whole world to see. So I've literally crept my way from my bag, which is over there, and I've come to this just down here. More of this beautiful fresh green beech foliage, and I'm constantly on the lookout for more abstract type shots. Now this one, I'm really not sure if it's going to work. The LCD screen is just too small to really appreciate, and I think what could be happening here, and I'm going to put this on regardless, is that because it's so small, it possibly looks better than it actually is. And sometimes you'll find that with your images on your computer screen at home, when you put them down to a postage stamp size, they look really, really nice, and then you blow them up to the full size of the screen and they just lack something. And it can work conversely in the opposite direction. They can look fantastic when they're fully open, but look really quite poor when they're down to a thumbnail, for example, if you wanted to post something on Instagram. So you've got to be mindful of that. Some images work big, some images work small, and because I can only see this on the back of the LCD screen, I'm not 100% sure. But what I've got, essentially, I'll move that in so you can see. If I can try and do it without kicking my tripod over. So here, just focus that. I'm just focusing on the two, sorry, the two primary colours. I'll just switch that back on. The two primary colours of where are we? Come on. Yeah, the green and the leaves, and the band of blue at the bottom. Just losing focus. But what I really love about it right now, and it's just happening in front of our eyes, is we can see that the leaves are becoming backlit, and I had that a few minutes ago, and I'll take another one there now, and that looks really quite strong. And like I say, it might not work when it's blown up full, but regardless, I'm going to put that on now. Right, those of you that have tried to photograph bluebells close up will know without a shadow of a doubt just how hard they are. And you would think, given that there's millions of them in the wood, that it would be quite easy. I'm just going to put this somewhere else because I'm aware that when I lie on it I tend to go a little bit muffled. So, the technique I use is one that I've described previously in other videos, particularly one where I talk about, I think, top 10 macro tips, and that's very, very simple. It gets you really artistic sort of representations of the bluebell rather than just a standard stock type shot. So what I do in this instance, I do put the camera on manual focus, I stick it at 1:1. I go on aperture priority in this instance because I don't want to be messing around with changing light, and I literally select an ISO that's fast enough to give me a shutter speed that I can hand hold. So in this instance it's 400 ISO, and that's giving me shutter speeds in the region of 1/25th, 1/60th of a second. With a 120mm macro lens, generally speaking, hand holding without image stabilization, you need a shutter speed that's at least as fast as the length of the lens you're using. So 120mm macro, anything above 1/20th of a second will give you sharp results. Still, brace the camera with your elbows down in the ground and hold it, one hand under the lens barrel and obviously one hand on the grip. And what I do is that I try and focus through bluebells in the foreground, use them to create a colour almost like a wash to the image, and then I move around until I find something that I quite like, Often keeping the lens at 1:1, but sometimes I just change the focal, the focus just a little bit, and once I see something I just grab the shot. Now of course, as I've said before, I've chosen a patch where there's no bluebells and I'm photographing just on the edge of them. The temptation is really just to get in there and try and find something, but trust me, the bluebells are the same all wherever you go, so you might as well just find a little patch on the edge and just work with those. So that's what I'm doing here. And don't be concerned if you don't get anything first time. You just keep looking around the frame until you see something that really looks appealing, and then grab the shot. So my best effort of this session I will put on now. So what I will say about this type of photography is you've really got to come appropriately dressed. There's no point in coming out in new clothes and then getting down in this lot, unless of course you can afford to. But I generally wear good robust jackets that are waterproof, and I don't mind getting absolutely filthy in. I've worn leggings today and full of leaves, and they might have even soaked through on this occasion. But you need to wear the right stuff, because it's no point just trying to bend over and take these shots. You've got to lie down and you've got to just move in and out with the camera looking for that composition. I think I got what I wanted today. There's always an infinite amount of possibilities with this type of photography, and you never really know exactly what you're going to get until you literally drop on it. So let me know in the comments below what you thought of today's images. It's been a good one all round, I feel, from close-ups to more landscape type shots, so a good variety today. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, so of course YouTube notifies you every time I upload a new video. If you have enjoyed the film, thumbs up, it's always good for the channel, and I'll leave it there. So until next time, thank you all so much for watching. Bye for now.